Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us we're gonna cut that out. So it's the winter, it's the cold, it's getting to me. I'm
It
not gonna
is.
lie, the cold's got the brain freeze going 100%. So hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Life with Lily. I am Lily of the Light, and we are here with the fabulous Gabrielle. And can you please tell us why you're amazing and why you are going to be talking about retreats and the awesomeness that you provide to them?
Yes. Why am I amazing? That's a great question. I am a licensed clinical social worker, but I sold my counseling practice that I previously owned and because of my own burnout, and I've pivoted and now I do business coaching and consulting, intuitive readings, retreats, sound healing, and all of those things are based on polyvagal theory and nervous system regulation is an easier way to say that.
I love it. The nervous system does control a lot. I feel like the nervous
Yes.
system and then like your gut biome, your tum
Yep.
tum, like
That's
those two,
everything.
it's like the king and the queen, and they rule over your life.
Totally. Totally.
And I'm
I
like,
love
oh
the way you
no,
put that.
it doesn't matter. It so matters. Keep
Mhm.
the king and the queen happy. All right.
Yep.
It is a kingdom. Keep the king and the queen happy. And occasionally you have to pay taxes in the form
Yes,
of,
you do.
let's be honest, in the form of mental health, in the form of probiotics, in the form
Mhm.
of, exercise or deep breathing.
Yep.
It's a thing. It's a thing. So we are talking about retreats and what makes retreats special or worthwhile, because retreats, if we're being honest, a good retreat is expensive,
Mhm.
and it should be. I'm not talking, tens of thousands of dollars. I know there are ones out there like that, but good retreats are an investment in yourself. And I feel like there are certain people who are ready and willing to take that step
Yeah.
and love themselves and commit to themselves to have a life-changing experience. And then there are people who just aren't ready, and they'll put up like the money roadblock as their reasoning, like, oh, it's just so expensive. And I always view that as like, you're just not ready, and that's fine.
Mhm.
Go at your own pace. Have you found that when people like hesitate about the money, it's like, yep, you're not ready yet?
Yes. And I'll even, like it's so funny too because there will be people who I barely know and have never met, and they pay upfront in full.
Yep.
And then I get people who do know me or people who are like, this feels really expensive. I don't know that I can afford it. And they like try and kind of negotiate with me. And that's fine. Like I get it. We're all in different financial spaces, but it is expensive. It's expensive for me to host there. So I have to pay the resort a certain fee to host there. And it's also my time and it's also my own energy. And that's definitely something that I've learned. Like, I love doing it, but it's a lot of output for me. And I know that people will get an incredible experience and that I need to provide that for them. And I do. But that also, it comes at a cost as well. And so, if you're like looking at, and yes, there are some that are like tens and tens of thousands of dollars, and good for you if you can do that. Mine are not that expensive. But yes, like you wouldn't want to go on something and I don't know, be like in some shitty hotel, like some roach hotel somewhere where you're like not getting a good experience. And so, yeah, if you're not at a place yet where you can or can't afford it, that's okay. Because yeah, some people are ready and some people are not.
Absolutely. And I think you bring up a really good point that people don't always think about with pricing, and there are hard costs. Like
Hmm.
there is the cost of the food, which I'll tell y'all right now, I run events at different hotels around the country. Food is 3 times as much as what you think it is,
Yep.
because it's twice as much, and then it's all the taxes and fees and service charges that they put on. So I know for like me, for a basic, like super, super simple, like sandwich lunch buffet, it is a minimum of $35 a person. And
Yeah.
people are like, oh my gosh, like that's a dinner. And I'm like, no, that is a basic bitch lunch.
Yeah.
And you better be happy. So no, just the food alone costs a lot, the space costs a lot. And so when people look at this price, they're like, oh, so you're pocketing the 3,000 or whatever. It's like, no.
Yeah, I know.
That's
People
so
think
cool.
that. But and then there's a lot of other random things that come up too. Like I'm co-hosting with somebody else. We're doing a retreat on the Oregon coast in April, and they are charging like they're only going to give us a certain amount of yoga mats, and they want to charge us for each use of each yoga mat above this certain amount. And I'm like, I'll just buy them off of Amazon and then donate them or bring them home or something because there's costs like that. There's like for my retreat that I'm doing next week, I got goodie bags for people. I had workbooks made. There's all these other things that we have to pay for that play into it. But that is also a reason why I did it in Belize is because it's often cheaper in other countries.
Yes. I recently wanted to take my mom on a trip, not a retreat, just a trip.
Hmm.
And it's cheaper to go out of the country to get literally the same
Yes.
all-inclusive resort experience.
Hmm.
I was looking in like Florida and I'm like, yeah, we'll just pop down to Florida for a weekend. And I was
So
like,
expensive.
uh,
I
Mom, I
can't
love you.
believe
I don't
it.
love you this much.
I mean, I live in Florida and I can't believe that people pay $10,000 to come vacation here. I'm like, you could go to a private island on Belize for like a month for that.
Yes, yes, it is. It is like wow, it's just a lot.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm a big fan of doing it, when possible in foreign countries and really getting that energy. But it's also a big energy shift. So
yes.
doing it in the US, like I do wellness retreats, like weekend wellness retreats in the US, just like, Boston and stuff like that. And I love the energy of the place. So
Yeah.
that's how I choose a lot of stuff. Like obviously it has to be affordable. I will probably never do one in Florida just for that reason. Oh my God,
I know.
tourist trap, the whole
Crazy.
state.
Hmm.
Um, but it's picking based on like the energy that is in the land, the culture, the people. I also would never want to do a retreat in a place where like I knew the people weren't friendly.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be Minnesota nice. No. But I mean, if someone's throwing garbage at you because you're a tourist, no, I wouldn't want to do a place there.
Yeah,
Um, so
I
yeah, I
agree
think
with
that
that.
that's a big thing too.
The energy is huge, and you want to like somebody was just asking me like, why did you choose Belize? And I'm like, I had traveled there before, and I just felt very called to do it there. Like I love the people, I love the culture. It's a little bit, it's definitely got its touristy places, but it's a little bit like more crunchy than like Costa Rica, for example. It's like still pretty rustic, and that's another piece that I like about it. But the people there are very warm, very friendly. It's very safe, and they like the best part actually is that there's for the one I'm hosting next week, it's like 2 hours away from the airport.
Mhm.
And people were asking me about that. And I'm like, that's actually one of the best parts because you get like your own personal tour guide. They will talk to you the whole way about the culture and the history, and they'll point things out. And like, that is so exciting to me to just like see a different part of the country and hear it from a local about what they love about living there and being from there.
Oh, I love traveling, and people used to think I was nuts when I was younger and started traveling alone. And I loved talking to locals, and I would always
Yeah.
make a point to like spend time with locals, and go to like local spots and stuff. And
Yep.
people were like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because I want to experience as much as possible the authentic energy
Yes. Me
of a
too.
place that I'm visiting." Because people are like, "Oh no, why don't you just always go?" And I think it's also the misconception that it's not safe.
Yeah.
I don't- the vast majority, if you are an idiot, it's not safe. If you are mindful, if you protect yourself, if you're not walking around with strangers, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, the US is not that safe. So
Yeah.
let's not forget that when I was traveling last year, it's a long story, but basically we had a long layover in New Zealand and everybody there was like, we don't want to go to America. It seems really scary. We're all afraid we're going to die by some sort of mass shooting. And so let's first of all not forget that. And yes, second of all, when you travel, don't bring your flashy jewelry and don't be showing like your bundles of cash. Like just be smart and you will be okay. It's very safe. And I think that that's just like, I don't know, I hear that a lot too, like it's not safe. And I'm like, yes, it is. You just are afraid.
No, and you're not being mindful of your situation because
Yeah.
in traveling, like solo traveling, I never say I'm alone. I always say, "Oh my gosh, my brother's a Marine. He's on leave. We're
Hmm.
gonna just bum around for a little bit before he has to be deployed again."
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, "Oh," and it's like, "No, I don't have that." But I say it every single time I walk into a cab, I walk into a restaurant.
Yep.
I will say something, oh my gosh, I have my phone out because my dad's going to be meeting me. He is so overprotective, but he's a cop. I think it just comes with the territory. It's like,
Yes.
oh, it's just shamelessly dropping that in front of somebody and going, you
I
don't say,
even do that here. I mean, I was traveling for a conference by myself, well, a couple times this year, but I'm thinking of one specific instance in October. And I got in the Uber and it was like, some dude and he was asking me. And so I'm just, on high alert because I'm like, obviously I'm alone. Obviously I identify as a female and you're asking me why I'm here. You know where you're dropping me off. So yes, I say the same thing. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm meeting my husband. They're already there waiting for me.
yes, yes, I've got my location on because they just love
Yes.
tracking it. When I moved into my house, um, I had a lot of like the Xfinity, the gas company, like all of these worker men coming into my home to turn things on, to
Hmm.
hook things up. And I pointedly would talk about going to the gun range. You know what I love on a weekend, going and taking a few clips out? That just sounds like a lot of fun. Now, I get that handguns are super convenient. They can fit into my purse, which I just love, but a sniper rifle has a special place. And they just look at me and they're like, that is so. And I'm like, if you run away, I bet you I can still clip you at 300 feet with the scope. And they're like, that is so mean. And I'm like, I am in my house. I do not ever want to feel unsafe. And I will be the first one to apologize if
Yeah.
something's misconstrued or anything like that. But I truly believe safety comes first. And if that's the thing that like bothers you, I never say I'm gonna shoot you.
That's
But
good.
it's like, I want you to be aware, a hobby of mine. I'm not gonna say, you know what I love scrapbooking. I think
Right.
that is just the best. Paper, paper. The other thing I said to someone who was getting, as I was unpacking boxes of healing stones. So all the healing stones are like this big. And I picked one up and I said, "Do you know why I love this size?" He said, "Why?" "Because if there's an intruder, I can still throw it. And no matter where I hit you, I will do damage." And I'm just
I-
unpacking beautiful healing stones. Just this
They're
one's got a good weight.
they're multi-use.
Yes, yes. So it's just being safe. So in your opinion, what makes a good and or memorable event or
So
retreat specifically?
I think that people, I don't want to say should, I try not to say should, but it can be helpful if you go in with an open mind because you might not get what you want, but you will always get what you need. And I find that some people, like I specifically schedule mine and the retreats that I go on too, so that it isn't overscheduled because that's not the point. The point is to retreat. The point is that you are being taken out of your normal day to day into a place where you can have space, and you need that space to integrate and to imprint everything that you're learning and feeling and seeing. You're not in a conference where you're getting like continuing education or whatever from like 9 to 6 back to back. Like that's not what this is. And so some people have a hard time with that, I've noticed. Especially because mine are like wellness retreats and we're focusing on nervous system regulation and burnout prevention. And people are used to being overscheduled and they're like, we're only going to be doing stuff for like a couple hours in the morning. What am I supposed to do in the afternoon? And so, and like I think it's also important if anybody's like listening and think about going on a retreat or hosting retreats, you do want to have a good mix of like being together but not too much, and being alone, but not leaving people alone for too long either. So you want a good mix of both, but you do need that space because you are somewhere else than you normally are. And so, yes, when we're in Belize in the jungle, like we don't want to sit and just be doing like retreat stuff all day. You need to take that stuff that we're talking about in the morning and go and use it in the afternoon. Like those, I feel like are the magical moments, is these things that just kind of happen organically, where you're connecting with other people or you see something in nature that you normally don't see. Like those are all the things that you want to look for. And also making sure that it's a good fit for you. So I think sometimes people also try and like make it something that it's not, or maybe that's not the right retreat for you. So if you are reading the description and you're like, I would love to do that, but I don't like this, or I don't like that, or I don't want to share a room. It's like, well, then maybe it's not the right retreat for you, and that's okay. But a lot of times you will have to share a room. So,
Yes, or else you have
and
to pay double because
yes,
that's what it is. I love that you said imprint. I love that mindset going in.
yeah,
It an event, a convention, a conference is very different than a retreat. And I feel like
yeah,
people who have done a full day intensive or a full weekend convention think that a retreat is the same. And it's like, no, you are trying to cram as much as possible into your Saturday, Sunday spiritual expo.
yes,
Where and a retreat is I always say you need to take time to process. So we're going to learn
yes.
something, and then I want you to completely disengage from all the energy and process and do it again
Mm-hmm,
after everything. Another thing about scheduling that no one wants to talk about because it's uncomfortable is that we all have different bodies.
mm-hmm,
I demand, and I have had people complain about this at my events because it means less can be scheduled. I schedule longer meal times because
mm-hmm.
I eat as if it's my last meal. I am inhaling it. I'm a duck. I barely chew. It's yes, all food now. Like I will sit down and eat, and like 5 minutes later, I'll be like, I'm done. And everyone's like had like their second bite, and I'm like, I talked while I did that too.
Yes. But
People
it's
need more
true.
time to eat, but also to digest, to use
Mm-hmm,
the bathroom. Because there's so many times that I have seen women especially be like in a class and it's like, are you okay? They're like, I just really have to pee. And then
like
you
go
look at the
pee.
time and you realize they have not, because they don't want to miss anything and everything
Yes.
scheduled so much that they haven't had a chance in 4 hours.
No,
And
yeah,
I'm like,
and that's not taking care of yourself.
mm-hmm,
And so, yeah, you do need to think about those things because you want to give people a good experience and that they get enough, but again, not too much. Don't be cramming stuff in and then you only have 20 minutes to have lunch. That sounds stressful to me. If I'm on a retreat, I probably just want to enjoy my meal and yes, digest everything
yep.
and, have like a mindful meal and
Mm-hmm.
not be rushing like I normally am at home because we're trying to do the opposite of that.
Yes.
So
And build
you,
healthy habits. Imagine
yes,
that.
I
And when I
know.
eat fast, I digest slow. Like
Hmm.
after I eat, I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to do anything that takes a lot of effort or learning. I want to sit and
Yep.
just let everything digest for a minute. And everyone is different. And one of the moving into red flags real quick, a huge red flag I've seen is lack of flexibility.
Yes.
to let an event happen as it's meant to happen. If things change, great. If not, as long as it's not like we have to get on the bus at this time, the bus is
Right.
leaving without you. Move.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
1:45. Go. But this is the militant da da da. That's not, like you said, that's your daily life, and you're trying to be taken out of that to create the habits needed to flourish when you get home.
Exactly.
So doing the exact same thing you did at home, but now here is not going to help. And so that rigidity, I don't, I don't like. I also don't like the inflexibility around accommodations for
Mm.
retreats. That to me is another big red flag.
Hmm.
And because some of them are super I don't want to say simple, because people who run them know no nothing is simple.
Right.
But it's, I'm gluten free. Okay, then there needs to be gluten free rolls or pasta also. That's like it's something. And there are lots of retreats I have found who are like, no substitutions.
Oh,
It's like,
wow.
so they
Really?
don't get to eat what everyone else gets,
Yeah. I
or
mean, I'm celiac, so like it's
yeah.
it's like a need. But that is a red flag because there should be accommodations. There's again in Belize on the one in June is on a private island. They can accommodate all of those things. So if they
Yep.
can do that, then anywhere else can do
Yes,
that.
a remote island can do it. So can you step up?
Exactly.
And it's like there's the food, there's mobility.
Yeah.
So, and I think that goes to also scheduling. Not everyone, I have noticed this with, not, we are into wellness, in my opinion. That's what we are. That's one of the reasons why we mesh so well.
Hmm.
We are not into health, we are into wellness.
Hmm.
I have seen a lot of retreats where they're structured around health, and then it needs to be said in there, if you are not completely able-bodied, borderline Olympian, don't come,
Yeah.
because they schedule it as a very, and that's great. Those retreats need to exist, absolutely. But if you do not say that in there and someone who is disabled comes, they're going to be super upset and possibly
Hmm.
injured by the end, because you say, we all go on this hike. I'm sorry, do I look like I hike? Do I
Exactly.
look, I nature walk? Maybe, if I've
But
digested enough.
you have to ask, and that's why, like, you need to, again, thinking about those things. And so I have, like, when people sign up, well, I mean, it's in the like the sales page, but when people sign up, they also get a Google form that's sent out to them. And I want to know what your pronouns are. I want to know if you need any accommodations. And like for this one next week, we are hiking Mayan ruins. And I was like, can you do that? If not, let me know. Like it's not nothing is like forced on you, but yeah, you need to put it out there and you need to ask so that you can prepare because, and I also chose that specific excursion because it's not as intense as some of the other ones. So there are like some really crazy like cave tubing and stuff you can do in Belize, which is cool, but I'm like, that's cool to me. That is too adventurous for other people. And I want to make something that's accessible-ish to everyone as much as it can be.
Yes.
So those are things you want to think about. Um, as far as flexibility, something will go wrong. Something will always happen. It could rain and you are on a private island. It could be, I don't know, there's construction. Like there are all these things that can happen. And so you can't be rigid. You
Mhm.
have to be able to go with the flow a little bit because things are going to happen. I know I went on a retreat a couple years ago in Costa Rica and people's flights were delayed and they missed the shuttle. So they had to get a different shuttle for them.
Mhm.
And they didn't get there till like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Ooh.
And that sucks. But like, what are you supposed to do? You cannot control air travel. And so
Right.
these are things that can happen. You can plan as much as you possibly can or want to and write everything down and have a schedule, but something will always happen and you have to be okay with that. And I think another red flag is just people not being like people not having a refund policy. Like your refund policy can be no refunds
Mhm.
because it is there are sometimes things out of our control, like some, venues,
Yep.
they don't do refunds. So, and that's fine, but you need to have it out there. So
Mhm.
if you can't find somebody's refund policy or they are not responsive in emailing you those things, then that is the problem. I think actually I would change that to like no communication and no responsiveness is really the problem.
Yes, you should be able to reach out and ask questions. Like obviously don't ask 50 million questions. Excuse me, but asking the pertinent being able to shoot an email and be like, because for me, for my accommodations, most of the time they're not in the Google form. Most of the times, and that's fine. I know that. I know myself. I know myself. So I always email and I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm looking at this. I just need to know these are my things. Can you do them? Can you not do them? Can you do some of them? Just be very honest with me. And I have had people not respond. And I'm like, okay, that's a no because I can't go if I can't bring a walker, you
Yeah,
know?
and like you need to be upfront and open about those things. And people have asked me that too. Like, or, I do have a chronic illness. Is there like medical stuff nearby? Because I might need that. And when we're on a private island, no. But where we're going next week, yes. And, and I've had other people email me questions like that too, or like, somebody said, I get really car sick. Do you think that I could like sit in the front? I'm like, I'm sure that's fine. Like,
Mm.
or I just had surgery. I can't lift my bag. I'm like, somebody will be there to help you. So, but you need to respond to people and you also need to remember that not everybody is the same as you. And so you might be very well traveled and you're used to going through customs and filling out the forms and all of that stuff. But if somebody has never traveled outside of the country and they're doing this for the first time, you're going to have to explain all of that. You need a
Mhm.
passport. They're going to give you a form on the plane, have a pen to fill it out. This is
Yep.
what it looks like when you get off the plane. This is where you're going to go. Like, there's a lot to it. So think, you have to take yourself out of it and just think if you were like brand new and had never done this before, what would you want to know? And even if you're not doing something outside of the country, even if it's just a
Mhm.
1 day retreat or a weekend retreat, even in your town, people may have never even heard the word retreat. They might not even know those exist. So it's
Mhm.
up to you to really explain it to them and give them that information so they know what to expect.
Yes, I have a favorite venue. It's the Crown Plaza in Plymouth, Minnesota, but it's weird. So you drive in and then you drive up a little hill and there's this little roundabout and that's where you can drop off your luggage, um anything like that. But then you go down the roundabout, go back down the hill, and then there's the parking lot. So then you park and you have to trek up a hill back to the door. There's no valet parking, there's nothing like that. And that is something with my events that I always warn people about. I'm like,
Hmm.
you can drop off your stuff, but then you got to park and schlep, or you got to have a husband willing to drop you off or something, because that is the way the hotel is made. And that's not normal. Most of the
Yeah.
hotels I've been to do not have like you turn right and you go into a roundabout and that's the front. But if you turn left, you're going down a hill
Hmm.
and parking. Like that's a trek for some people. And
Yeah.
they need to be aware of it. Um, I think honesty on the part of the hosts, but also here's a big one for our listeners: honesty within yourself when you come.
Hmm.
If you have this unicorn shit rainbows, the angels are going to sing to you. Expectation that, of course, that's what we want. That's what we all want. It is fabulous to have a life changing retreat. And that is, of course, what we want for you. But if you think this one retreat is going to be the magic bullet that fixes everything, and then you're super pissed when it is not an impossibly perfect experience, that's a you thing. That
Yeah.
is, have realistic expectations of what a wellness retreat actually is. Because I bet you, I'm gonna ask it. I'm gonna ask it. So I do yoga on a regular basis. If I go to your retreat, will I be able to hop up into crow pose by the end of the week? No. Do not come in thinking that the 2 or 5 yoga classes is going to have you in scorpion. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not, because some people, they come and they're like, well, I thought that I'd be able to do things. No, honey, no. I've gotten into crow once for 3 Mississippi. I was so proud. And then I fell so hard that the teacher was like, it's okay to fall. And I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah,
got
too late. I
it.
know.
I think I bruised the floor though, because like it was a loud crash when I landed. And I was just, but I was elated that I got in a crow for 3 whole seconds. Only time in my life I did it. Um, but so realistic expectations of the attendees, and that's
Yes.
something that they can only know by watching this episode, or just being aware of it, because so many have come in with, I'll give you an example. I'll give you my delightful little example that
I love an example.
I was like, I don't think you are in touch with reality. So, no shame to this delusional person, of course, but I did an event, and there was a vendor room with a bunch of vendors, and a wonderful local musician was like, can I play? And I'm like, as long as you don't bother me while I'm running this event, you can do anything you want. I don't care. You want to play ambiance music in a corner? Awesome. Thank you. Love it. Don't talk to me while I'm running.
Hmm.
And so he was in the vendor room playing for different portions of the event. I get an email saying, at events, I usually don't like music or noise in the vendor room because it's very distracting. But for your event, I actually really appreciated having live music. And so I think it should be a requirement to have live musicians for this 8-hour event in the vendor room just for the vendors performing. And I am like, honey, I don't think you should be here. I don't
Yeah.
think this is the event for you. This
Not a
wonderful
good fit.
musician just played because he wanted to, and I had no problem with that. But you saying that I need to pay musicians
Exactly.
for an 8-hour shift,
I was
like,
gonna say, who's paying for that?
those, oh, and I was just, so that to me is unrealistic. And them going like, well, this is what made your event magical. So like, if you can't do that, then your event failed. If you have
Yeah.
an unrealistic expectation that we don't meet, and then to you the event failed, this is not the event for you, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
if you have unrealistic expectations about what we can provide, because you are fabulous. One, let's be honest. I adore you. You know I adore you. You're fabulous. And you are not in control of my body ever, correct?
Yeah,
I am
right.
not a puppet to you. So my ability to get into any yoga pose is not dependent on you. It's dependent on me, my body, where I'm at, my self-awareness, quite frankly, my hydration, and whether I have gas. All of those things will go into what pose I
But
do.
that's important because if you're hosting a retreat too, like, and I really struggle with this, you have to let go of the perfectionism and the expectations because I definitely feed into that. And people will say something, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should have done that this way. Maybe I should do that this way. I want everybody to be happy. And it's like, I can control what I can control. And this is the event that I'm putting on, and I have been clear about what to expect and what we will be doing. And I can control how I do that. I can control my sound bath and the information that I am giving, but I can't control anything else. If somebody gets triggered, which can happen,
Yeah.
like that might come up. Or if somebody doesn't like something that I say, I mean, it is what it is. And so you can't make everybody happy. It's the other piece of that is what I'm trying to say, I think.
Yes. And I think that's big for people who, excuse me, it is Minnesota winter. It is so dry. Um, that's something that people who host retreats need to hear even more than people who attend retreats, is that
Yeah.
we can't make everyone happy with
Hmm.
anything that we do. It could be a perfect event and it's still not going to be perfect. You're still not going to fill everyone's needs at all times. You can just do the best you can for the community, for the ambiance of the event and what it is meant to actually do.
Yes.
Um, oh, there's a question that we kind of touched on earlier, but it's going to the right retreat for you. I think obviously if they can fit the accommodations that you need, that's a huge one. If they can't fit your
Yeah.
accommodations, they're not your event. Your energy level, So if it's, I will never go on a fitness retreat, I have no, no. If someone's like, we start every morning with a 5K, I'll be like, I start every
No.
morning with a donut. Like,
I know.
no, happiness and joy, that is not, and don't get me wrong, I love exercise. I was at the gym this morning, but that to me is not a retreat. That to me is punishing.
Yeah.
And so, but there are people who love that,
And that's what they want, and that's
that's
fine.
awesome. So it's finding one that's in your energy level, your
Hmm.
activity, your physical body and mental capability. Um, I think are important when choosing a retreat. And then like the theme, and then the
Yeah.
theme comes in. Cause I'm sorry, like if you love the theme, but it's way too fitness heavy, you're not going to enjoy it no matter what. If the theme is
Hmm.
living your best life or self-care, but it's too aggressive isn't the right word. What's that? Whatever
Like,
word that means, that it's just
yeah, it's like active, like lots of adventure and moving, and like then that's okay. Then that is not the retreat for you. And so keep searching. There's plenty out there, and it needs to resonate. Like you will know if
Mhm.
it's the right one. When you look at that sales page, when you read it, when you see where it is, and you see what the theme is and what it's about, because you don't need to force yourself. Again, I would not go on a fitness retreat either. That's not for me. I'm also not going on a retreat somewhere cold because I hate being cold, and I don't want to ski or snowboard or like do cold things.
Snowshoe. Snowshoe. You know that's a thing in Minnesota? They
Yeah,
have
people love
mountain hikes in
it.
negative-degree weather outside. Let me be clear, at night. They do it in the
No,
dark because it's more magical in the dark. I have
no.
walked through the woods in the dark. I almost lost an eye. No. So,
Good.
and let me be clear, all you wonderful listeners, we just aren't that active. It's not that we judge it at all. This is our own experiences. Like if you want to snowshoe across Canada, absolutely, if that's what you want to do. I just
Yeah.
will not be with you. I will absolutely be at the end with hot chocolate, some
Mhm.
fresh made bread. Oh,
Yep.
that sounds nice. Warm blanket fire. I
Yes.
can do that. I will be there at the end for that. But I will not be trekking with you because the entire time I will be going, why do I hate myself? I
Yeah.
think I need to reevaluate my life.
It's not what I want. And it is good to push yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone for sure. But
Mhm.
like, I know that I'll be miserable and I won't have a good time if we're snowshoeing for 3 days in the Arctic tundra. Like, that's not
Yeah.
for me. So,
Yep. And and it's the same with, so a lot of spiritual retreats in the Twin Cities revolve around camping. And
that
I'm
makes
asked on
sense.
a regular basis why I do not attend these retreats. And I said, I don't camp.
Yeah.
I Other people camp and they love it. I don't. It's not that I can't. I know how to pitch a tent. I know how to cook over an open fire. I know how to do those things. I was raised in small town USA. I can do those things. I don't enjoy it. And as much as retreats are meant to help you grow and learn and flourish, you're meant to enjoy them. They're meant to be fun.
Yes.
They are meant to
Yes.
not suck the soul out of your eye socket.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, those are you again, you want to be stretched a little bit, but you
Yeah.
don't want to be miserable. And you want to make sure too, like that there's good boundaries. And I think that you can get a sense of that beforehand
Yes.
also.
Yes. So, what can make or break a retreat is the people who attend. And you don't know
Mhm.
that until they're all in a room together saying, hi,
Yeah.
my name's Ethel. My name's Cindy. What's up? So, there are retreats of many different sizes. And I have some very real opinions about this, by the way. What is too small of a retreat and what is too big for attendees?
I think if you're calling something a retreat and it's over 20 people,
Mhm.
to me, that's not a retreat. When I think of retreats, I think of intimate, small gatherings where you're getting a different vibe and different energy. If it's a lot of people, that doesn't really feel like a retreat to me. I think too small, I don't know. If there's two people there, that's fine. I
Mhm.
think. I think that you can still have a really amazing retreat with 2 or 3 people. And so if you're hosting a retreat and you only have a couple people coming, that's okay. Like
Mhm.
everybody will get what they need from it. So, but I would not be calling something a retreat if it's like 200 people in a convention center.
Yeah, not the same. I agree. I think for me, my numbers are a little bit different. 20 would be like the tippy tip top. I would prefer like 15 be the max
Yeah.
or something like that. And then like if there were a few more, I'd be like, okay, I we can make this work. Um, and as far as too few, I feel like 4 is a good minimum. And here's why. A lot of the activities that I do are
Mm,
paired off.
yeah.
So, and it's like, well, if it's 3 people, then the host can still take a pair. Here's the problem with it. Yes, you absolutely can. And there's this power dynamic that shifts things when it's
Yes.
host you're partnered with. People will second guess more often,
Mhm.
or it will be, I have had people go, like, then it becomes a thing of who I'm rotated to be with next because they all want to have a partner with the host, right?
Yeah.
And so it shifts the dynamic when it's like it's 3 and you can't do that. So I like having 4 because then you can split off into pairs and then the pairs can switch and it's
Yeah,
enough people to have a
that makes sense.
different energy and collaboration and stuff. And again, it's not that you can't do it with 2 or 3. If you are just starting out and you have to, great, fabulous. Remember, the people who are going to your event are the ones who are meant to be there
Yep.
and who are valuing it. And I would rather have 2 amazing people than 4 assholes at my
Exactly.
also. So quality over quantity is definitely a thing because I've been to events that I love that everyone is super chill, and I have been to events where there is one person
There
who
might be one person, and you have to like have your shield up or do whatever you need to do
yes,
to not take on their stuff because people are going to bring their own stuff. And
yeah,
I have to go in 1 minute. I just looked at the time.
that is
Sorry.
absolutely fine. So you do retreats in Belize and everything. Can you tell us where people can contact you and get a hold of you in case they want to do a retreat with you or have any questions?
Yes, I'm pretty easy to find because of my name. So it's GabrielleJuliano-Villani.com. And it's the same on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, and then Instagram is at GJV Consulting.
Perfect. I love it. Everyone, thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. Like, share, follow. Remember that if you have any comments, you can put them below and we will respond. Go forth, find the retreat that is best for you. And if you need help, reach out. We are here to make sure that you get to your perfect retreat destination that's going to help you flourish. Thank you so much, my darling. This was fabulous.
Yay!
We're going
Thanks,
to do this
Lily.
again soon.
We are. We have so much stuff to share, but I really hope that anybody who's listening, this helps you if you're thinking about leading retreats or going to a retreat, that you have a lot of options out there and to find the perfect one for you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.